Hello and welcome to the flagship show edition of the Blue Monday podcast, a 3 times weekly show looking into all things Ipswich Town. I'm your host, Richard Woodward. I'm delighted to welcome international traveller and Ipswich Town aficionado David Divant, and wearing his it's a fitting shirt that he's wearing for us tonight if anyone's watching the video, Academy expert Joe Fairs. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm not too bad. Can we remember, Joe, when, given we were wearing that shirt tonight, exactly at what point we were relegated that season?
I don't think we were playing. I'm sure it's a sort of a Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, was it? It was literally
a result elsewhere went against us, and it was confirmed. But that must have been early April.
For those listening on the podcast, we should say Joe's wearing is the 94-95
relegation special.
Yeah, the relegation shirt, which actually is a lovely shirt. Actually, when you look at the white outline to the crest and all that stuff, but you're obviously not feeling in a particularly great mood, Joe. You not think we can stay up?
No, I've been fairly optimistic. Even up till yesterday, I thought, well, if we win tomorrow, we're right back in it. But I think I don't know. You look at the bookies odds. I think we're something like 500 to 1 to stay up now. Which, what is that as a percentage? About 0.01.
Yeah, well, we didn't get Chris Rand out again. It was 0.6% last week. I don't know what it is this week. And Dave, you flew back in especially for it.
Daniel Hill on Twitter summed it up quite well. He said after the Bristol City, which was the first must-win game, he thought we could. And after the Millwall game, which was perhaps the second must-win game, he thought we would. And obviously yesterday it was confirmed all but the shouting, really.
Yeah.
I think it summed it up quite well, really.
Especially with Rotherham winning as well. It's just...
Yeah. Well,
we're done, mate.
Yeah, put a fork in us. So we'll go through Reading and the aftermath and what it means for the rest of the season. We've got a shed load of questions, so thank you for everyone for those. We'll probably do Reading as quickly as possible, talk through that, and then go through the questions. Let's do a bit of news first. Let's rewind a bit. I'll start with the first bit of news of the week. We'll go to you, Dave, on this one. It's like last season. Mick McCarthy announces an injury to Will Keane for us. 6 weeks. This injury crisis is it's just another example of how terrible this season's going for us, isn't it?
Just when he was starting to look the part as well, wasn't he? I mean, I didn't see him at Wigan last week, but apparently until he got injured, he was really looking the part, and he was all right. He scored a penalty, but he'd scored 3 goals so far. It's just typical of our season, mate. Absolutely typical. And yesterday was a sort of game which probably would have been ideal for someone like him. My buyer with a good touch, been ideal. But do you know what? I look back after yesterday and seeing Quainer, who we'll get to the game, but Quainer, who I thought probably arguably had his best game for us yesterday, arguably, but still weren't great. And probably the biggest miss has been Walters.
Do you think?
The biggest influence. Do you know what? Probably, possibly. At 35, how much he would have stayed fit, who knows? But just to have his influence there, his experience and his presence up front, still good in the air. I think arguably he was probably, for me, biggest miss of all, maybe.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that as well. And I wasn't even that keen when we signed Walters. I didn't think it was the particularly right signing that we made. But once Hurst had gone and Lambert was in, and he was trying to play this system of one up front,
been ideal.
And with sort of no disrespect to Jordan Roberts, but he's a guy struggling to get off the bench for Lincoln at the moment, and he wasn't good enough. He was a willing player, but he wasn't even a striker playing up front on his own. How much better would we have been with John Walters up there?
Yeah, honestly, and just all that experience as well.
We've got a Twitter question on this one. I'll chuck this in now. Jax Larder asks whether this injury is a blessing in disguise in respect of trying to keep hold of him. Do you think we've got a chance of signing Will Keane?
Just can't see it.
No.
Why would he play in League One? I suppose you're building up fitness, but why would he play in League One? I'd have thought someone would come in for him, Yeah. But then looking at a player like Keane, do you now take the view that he is another, dare I say it, Emir Hughes type player, that he is just injury prone, unlucky and injury prone,
We've got enough of those, haven't we?
Do people take a gamble on? Do we take a gamble on him? We'll be able to afford him, probably not.
And the pack shuffles again for Reading, and our options up front just get less and less every week. On to more positive stuff though. Is it Armando Dobra, Joe?
Yes,
Armando signs the first pro deal, a 1 year with a 1 year option. The latest of a number of the young academy players like Kai Brown, Brett McGavin, Idris Umazuni and Arba to sign pro deals. Thoughts on that, Joe? You seen a lot of him?
Yeah, I'd say it's well deserved. I'd say he's been along with El Mazzoni, he's been standout player this year for the under-18s. He's just a player that likes to get on the ball, head down, dribble past people. He's very difficult to tackle when he's in full flow. It's very small. I wonder if his Armando is named after Diego Maradona, his middle name, because that's the sort of style of play he is, where he just beats people for fun, really. But he's a very competitive player, gets stuck in, and he's one that I've enjoyed watching a lot this year. But he's one that's probably the furthest away from the first team, if that makes sense.
What's his position? Is he a 10 or is he a wide player? Or
When we were playing sort of her style through the club, he was playing as a 10, but he's also played as an 8, as sort of one or two midfielders, and I think he even played up front for the under-23s against Colchester last week. But he is a 10. If you get him on the ball and in space, he just drives at people, and his end product's been a lot better this season, where last year it was a bit flaky.
Sure.
Has he played up in the 21s often or 23s often, Joe?
A few games, not a huge amount. He came on away at Cardiff a few weeks ago and scored a last-minute winner where he just did exactly what we've been saying, picked up the ball, sort of came away from 3 or 4 players, drove at them, hit a shot, got a lucky deflection off a defender and beat the keeper, but scored the game winner like that. But he's one that is really kicking on and one that's good fun to watch.
And what were you saying earlier? He's of Albanian descent or something, is he?
Yeah, I think he's from Colchester, but his father's Albanian.
Okay.
And he spent some time away with the Albanian under-19 squad last week, where they played a friendly against the Albanian under-20th. And reading it through Google Translate, I think Albania are just trying to look at any European-based players they've got with Albanian heritage, just getting them in and out of the camp,
there quickly.
just to have a look. Just have a look at them, really, and that's what these small nations have to do.
Of those players we've just mentioned that's now signed a pro contract, do you see any of them getting a game before the end of the season? You know, if and when it's confirmed.
Potentially Corey and Darber would probably be the closest, because we are short at centre back. Yeah. Like, so we are short at centre back now, especially with Collins presumably injured again.
Pointless signing.
So I presume he's probably next in line behind Chambers, Pennington, and Enciala.
Yep. But captain for the under-23s as well, isn't he? So
has been recently. Yeah.
A bit surprised he's behind Chambers after yesterday, but anyway, we'll get to that.
Oh, Dave's on one already. This is great. One more bit of news that I wanted to mention as well, which I think got quite a lot of people happy or excited in principle, is the rumours of a German pre-season. Dave, training camp for possible friendlies.
Yeah, saw that.
Back to Fortuna, hopefully.
Yeah. They haven't done that for a number of. Well, Mick was totally caught up in Ireland, wasn't it? I think he's got a Carton House every year.
Hotel,
I think it was.
With the golf course,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there, played there. Really nice place. Really pucker place, just outside Dublin. But yeah, a trip to Germany would be great. Yeah.
Did you guys do the Fortuna pre-season trip? It was brilliant. I went. It was really hot. Lots of beer. Germany, so it's lots of meat and sausages and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be a big up for that one.
When was it? When was the last time we did it?
It was July. It was the season when Pittman and Fraser signed. That season 15, 16, is it?
Okay.
So we just lost out in the playoffs.
Friendly, didn't we?
It was, yeah, but it was great.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be really good if that happens, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Whether the budget will stretch for a League One club doing a pre-season trip out there is another thing altogether. But fingers crossed.
Ipswich Wanderers, Felixstowe Town, Leiston at a push, perhaps.
We'll get Mick back to arrange our pre-season. One last bit of news which leads me nicely into Reading. Bowser the dog was our community champion that led the players out yesterday, which is a lovely story. And to celebrate that, our good friend, the Renegade Statman, at Chompex3 has provided me...
It's going to be dreadful,
It's Ipswich Town dog-related 11. Chaps, are you ready for this?
Go for it.
It's not just an 11, it's a 17 as well. In goal... Barkosh Biakowski, Gary Crofts, which is next week, by the way. Everyone travelling up for West Brom, if you fancy making a weekend of it. Crofts at the NEC. Mickey Stockveiler.
What?
Yep.
That's terrible.
Yep. I'm missing one here. Toto Enciala. Toto the dog from Wizard of Oz, yeah.
Okay.
Assuming.
Yeah.
The best jokes are when you have to explain them.
Yeah, exactly right.
Absolutely.
Muzzle Osman. Yep.
What was that?
Muzzle Osman.
Yeah.
They get better, don't worry. Grant Redsetter. That's probably the most clever one so far.
Yeah, it's my favourite so far. Grant Redsetter. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
John Walkies. Jonathan Puglis.
Yeah.
I think he was stretching a little bit. Sit boy Peralta. Sit boy. Martin Wagtail. No, not having these. Shefki Poochie's a good one. Honestly, if you guys are watching, if you're not watching the video, you are missing the reactions of David Joe, which are stony faced. I'm so delighted that I let Stat do this bit for me. On the bench, we've got Paul Cooper, Bonio Zondervan, Terrier Butcher, Thomas Guard Dog, Dover Manu Theti, Collie Kwana, Dalmatian Atkinson.
Pretty good. I've got to say, Grant Redset is the best by far.
We'll do that. Me. Well, let's
nice one, Stat.
Collie Kwana was a starter on Saturday as we shifted into a strange formation against Reading. The 5-3-2 that worked quite well against Wigan was slightly adjusted. I think feelings about James Collins coming back in, with ignoring hindsight and what would happen on the 40th minute. Pleased, I guess, with Collins coming in with Knudsen suspended. Joe?
I was pleased that he was fit, but when I saw the three centre backs, it did sort of give me concerns that you have just got three out and out defenders there. None of them can step up with the ball into the midfield, and I know Knudsen is relatively limited on the ball, but he's still a fullback who can carry the ball forward when he plays in a free. Those three are just stoppers, really, aren't they? And it played out like that.
Yep.
Just negative for me. A game you've got to win. Got to win. Last chance saloon, really. You've got to go with two up front. I mean, two out and out up front, surely. Play Jackson and Quainer. I fell for Jackson yesterday. Jackson's never... you guys probably correct me. I don't think I've ever seen Jackson play with a partner up front. Ever. Maybe minutes when he's come on a sub. Certainly not start.
We're chasing a game. I think there's been a couple.
Give a guy a chance with Quainer. All right, Quainer doesn't win much in the air, but the occasional thing he'll win. And what we know is Jackson has got out and out pace. I just think yesterday he got it wrong yesterday.
And I think he had chance. I know we'll get onto this, but he had chances to correct when Collins was injured, and rather than change the shape, he brought on another centre back, which meant we then had to make the double change at half time, which then meant when we needed some fresh legs at the end of the game, we didn't have it. But I'd say Bishop was playing as a striker in the first half, no doubt about it. He was playing.
Oh yeah, he's playing up there. I've never seen him play so far.
And is Bishop really a better striker than Jackson? I'd like to think not at this stage, considering Jackson's our biggest signing for 15 years.
I thought Bishop was, in the first half, certainly was largely ineffective, really, because his strength is getting the ball and a bit like you're talking about the kid, Dobry, and driving at defenders, committing defenders, that sort of slant and run he's got. But he just couldn't. He was, for me, he was just far too advanced.
So the club Twitter account have started to put the team as a lineup, and their suggestion that it looked like a 5-4-1 with a midfield diamond, but I think we're all agreed it was a 3-5-2 with Bishop up front.
Definitely.
In terms of changes from last week, it was Collins for Knudsen. Otherwise, I think that was pretty much it. So Chambers, Pennington, and Collins, the back three with Bree and Kenlock out wide.
Bishop was back, of course, wasn't he?
Yes, you're right. I'm trying to.
He was sick,
obviously for Keane, good shout.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And then Nolan, Chalobah, and Judge the midfield three, and then Kwana with Bishop somewhere around him. Also up front, so maybe a 3-5-2. In terms of Reading, no surprises. I'm looking through there. I think it was exactly the same team that played Rotherham, a 4-2-3-1, with our good friend Nelson Oliveira up front, and more of him shortly. The one thing I haven't...
Did you get it right? Did you get it right in the preview show?
We did.
Pretty much?
Yeah, there's nothing there that caught us out.
No.
The point that Harry made, two of them, was he was worried about Oliveira. And the midfield, there was a lack of an enforcer there was a lack of a kind of a solid spine, but the likes of McCleary, Swift, Mate out wide, dangerous.
I thought Ajari had a good game and got in and about our midfield quite well, to be honest.
He was decent.
Swift had a lovely old time, didn't he?
He did. Plenty of space for Swift. So let's get into it. I'll try and do this as quickly as I can, guys, because we know what's going to come at the end. 5 minutes in, Mate has a bit of a swazzy long-range shot which goes wide. The first real incidents of Reading kind of asserting early dominance. a few minutes later, Quaner's offside for not the first time. There was a lot of frustration first half, particularly with him being offside quite a lot, and also Bree getting a lot of space down the right hand side and pinging in crosses to nobody, and that was a tactic that didn't really work either in that formation, and the personnel didn't really help for that. We kind of get into the 15-minute mark now. The first major incident is a Kenlock back pass, and Olivier tries to sneak in there and ends up kicking out a bar and goes down diving for the penalty, not given, and booked for simulation, which the North Stand loved. But he would have the last laugh. Needless to say, he would have the last laugh. But yeah, that's the kind of player he is, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a chance Quainers gets in 17 minutes. Nolan, lovely through ball pass. Quainers in, but he's offside again. But that was a really nice pass from Nolan. We've got a question on Nolan, so we won't go too much on them. But he has a shot later on. Did he have a good game for you guys yesterday, or still a bit mixed bag?
Yeah, I probably made him our man of the match yesterday, Nolan.
I made him our best player, perhaps along with Edwards when he came on.
Yeah.
So there's a potential opportunity there, but for an offside. But on 19 minutes, Town will go behind, and it's down this right hand side where we were having actually early issues with Chambers and McCleary against each other, and Bree so high up the pitch. Who wants to take this one? There's all kinds of mistakes here.
Oh well, if you want, I mean, Blackett sort of clips the ball right in front of me. Really, just clips the ball, not a particularly ball, just a straight ball, really. And it just takes Chambers out, really. He's perhaps badly positioned, just wrong-footed, and it's one of those balls that sort of goes over his shoulder almost. But McCleary coming off the wing. I mean, McCleary's no youngster. He must be the same age as
I think he's
Chambers.
just turned 30. I think he's 31.
That surprised me. I thought he might have
32.
been a bit older than that. And obviously, a former teammate of Chambers, I guess. Still quick, still very quick, and built like a sprint. He's got freaking great thighs like this, and he's huge. And he was away, and Chambers just exposed Chambers' lack of pace, really. And he sort of just pushed into the penalty box. That was quite odd. And then if you look back at the goal, Collins is trying to get back as well, and he's just chuffing. He can't make it either. And then Pennington comes across, and by the time McCleary's good because he shows good composure, but by the time McCleary puts his foot on the ball, there's like three converging on him, and he's very good. He shows a really good presence of mind, puts his foot on the ball, doesn't panic, shows good composure, just lays it into Oliveira. And it's a good finish, really, because Oliveira looks like he gives Bart the eye. He gives Bart the eyes, doesn't he? And he sort of sweeps it in, and Bart is static. It's not Bart's fault. But Pennington criticising, maybe caught a bit ball watching, and perhaps should perhaps pay more attention to Oliveira, then again get dragged in towards the ball. But
all three of the centre-backs are converging on McCleary at the same time, aren't they?
One.
And it's a really easy finish for Olivier, but he takes it really well, doesn't he, Joe?
Oh, he takes it brilliant. Like I said, he looks like he gives Bart the eye and just sweeps it in the far corner. It's a good finish. And, of course, he milks it, which, he's got every right to.
Yep.
And I think one of the things I noted at the start was about how we had the three centre-backs, all as defenders there, none of them bringing the ball out. But not only that, Chambers doesn't have the pace anymore. By Collins coming into the team, Chambers moves to one of the wider centre-back roles, and his lack of pace was just exposed. And he's having to chase back McCleary because Bree's 40 yards up the pitch, where if that was, like I say, if that was Ntiala and Pennington, either of them would have been on McCleary, would have made it a lot harder for him. So Chambers was definitely exposed by that formation, and like Rick said, all three went to the ball where Pennington didn't really show much of an awareness of the striker around him.
No,
he could be the difference, couldn't he, for Reading, couldn't he, Oliviera? He's a top-level striker.
Although, maybe not now, because, everyone knows what happened later on. It looks he does his hammy. It looks like a bad one.
And I got into a bit of handbags on Twitter about this one, but he's on the yellow card that I mentioned. The over-celebration in front of the North Stand is obviously a bit over the top. Do you think he gets a card for that if he's not already booked? Or am I being petty?
Possibly, because he goes back and he comes away and then goes back again, doesn't he? Where personally, I don't think a player should get booked for that, because the crowd are giving him some stick and he goes back and gives it some. My favourite all time is when Adebayor ran 100 yards celebrating from the
knee slide.
At least he scored at that end, but
that was well. You got to say that was something.
It would have made me laugh had he been sent off for it, but I would have also been a bit, that's not ideal. I think you've got to be able to give some back, don't you?
He had the presence of mind to not whip off his shirt. Maybe if he'd have whipped off his mask, would he have got booked for that? I don't know. But it was they were giving him some fearful sticks. So I haven't got a problem with that. Give a bit back. So what?
This might be wrong, so I might need to check this one. But I think someone was saying it was the same ref from the Villa game when Mings and Olivier had their moment. But I think that might be wrong. I've looked it up. It's a guy called Darren England, but I'm pretty certain.
No, he got replaced. That wasn't him.
Was it?
Darren England got replaced. That was
Eltringham.
Yesterday.
So is he the ref that was at the Villa game? I need to look it up.
I'm not sure, but he was the ref yesterday. He replaced Darren England yesterday.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Inside track after the event. 7 minutes or so later, John Swift gets into a really nice position and curls a really dangerous shot just wide. That was probably closer than Bart made it look. He kind of did the whole hands up in the air and walked away from it. And then a minute later, Collins has to do a pretty tidy block on McCleary as Reading are going for that second one. And then there's an overhead kick for Mate as well, pretty close in after another McCleary versus Chambers moment down the right-hand side. And did we think Chambers was fit yesterday? There were some suggestions around me that he was not fit or ill, or was he just showed up against quicker players, gents?
I think he was showing up.
Yeah, I think he's not 100% at the moment because he's been in and out of the team, hasn't he? So but he was just put in a position where he was constantly left one-on-one with a fast winger, and the winger, but by nature of the position, was having a sort of 5-yard head start on him as well, and having the run on him. So he just didn't have a hope really. He was just left exposed by the formation.
Yeah, I agree.
So 35 minutes, Town starting to try and get back in the game. There's a effort for Judge that's just wide. And then there's a long ball forward by the keeper Martinez, and McCleary's in all kinds of space, cuts inside. Again, he's past Chambers, but skews it wide. And then on 39 minutes, we've alluded to this already, Collins, who hadn't sat down or been injured in any way, is replaced Frenciala. So I guess, Dave, we'll come to you first and thoughts on what the situation was with Collins, because that seemed a bit strange. And then Joe, I think you've already alluded to it, the opportunity to change a formation that wasn't working and what Lambert might have done differently. So Dave, thoughts on Collins first of all?
I think I read somewhere on the forum or somewhere last night that it's a different injury apparently. It's not the injury he was out for, missed 5 games or whatever. To my mind, no. All right, it was a gamble. It's turned out to me. I don't think we'll see him again. I'll be very surprised if we see him again. Yeah, it might be something routine. He might be playing next Saturday, but I'll be very surprised if we see him again. I think it's a gamble. I said pointless signing yesterday. That might be a bit harsh. It's just a gamble that hasn't paid off. Shame, but certainly Joe's going to get on to say that's when they should have changed it, surely.
Yeah. So your Lambert, Joe, what do you do there instead?
Well, considering 5 minutes later he changed it. Why didn't he do it at that point when he had a sort of free hit to change it? Is it anything to do with him not being on the touchline, not being able to get a message down to Stuart Taylor and the guys?
Good point.
Is that what's cost us? I don't know, but like I say, we went like for like and then made a double sub 5 minutes later to change formation, where that should have been done at that point there.
I mean, and also, getting to... Oh, God, is there any more? Well, yeah, there is one big chance.
A couple of chances, to come.
Yeah, jeez.
Well, I'll do those quickly.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
First one, good play by Quainer, who feeds in Judge just inside the penalty area, right hand side, hits a shot back across the keeper. Probably could do a bit better there.
I was right in front of me. I wasn't a bad effort. Smart save, actually. That was a really smart save.
I think he was their man of the match, wasn't he, Martinez?
I think, Christ, yeah. It wasn't a bad strike from Quainer, actually, right in the corner, but... Yeah, smart. He got down really well.
It's on target. It's low.
Yeah.
And then a couple of minutes after that, again, maybe we found Quainer's role here, which is just jinking inside the penalty area.
Brilliant for this.
It's either great feat or just fortunate circumstances, but he managed to work in a position, crosses it back. Bishop kind of swipes at it and nods it forward, and it falls to Nolan. Anyone want to chat about what Nolan should do here rather than...
He's got to put a bit more height on it, but he struck it well and it was a good save, I think.
Good save. Bishop
you've got a score there, don't you?
Yeah, I just expected the net to bulge at that point, but yeah, it's a smart save. But I thought when I first saw it, I was a bit sort of blocked out. I thought that perhaps a defender had got it on the line, but no, it's a keeper. Smart save. I mean, could he just hit it with his side footer rather than hit it, as they say, with his laces?
It reminded me very much of that chance Sears had versus Millwall, where sort of in a very similar position, but Nolan struck it a lot better than Sears did that time.
Yeah, he did. No, it was a good, and I think I agree with you, Rich. He was certainly their man of the match.
And the ball sort of bounces around in the area, but none of our players can get there. It's sort of the story of the season, isn't it? But like I say, I think like, to try and be fair to Quain, because I thought he did
He
struggle
did brilliant
in front
there.
on his own.
Oh, brilliant.
Well, he likes to get on the ball out wide and drive in with it from there, and that's when he's at his most dangerous. That's when he has created anything has come from those situations. And yesterday, so often he did a decent bit of work out wide, but then we end up getting a cross into nobody because he is the one that needs to be in the box. So.
Yeah, precisely right. I think his wide running down the right hand side is really good, and
he runs the channel.
He's created plenty of few goals from those runs down the right hand side. But as you say, it was Bree and it was potentially Quainer who was getting those crosses in, and no one there. Bishop's not going to get on the end of those. We get to half time, and to be honest, I think probably everyone's a bit disappointed with that first half. Formation certainly not working. Collins' injury, obviously the goal, not great, and it's a double change at half time to try and change it up to a 4-3-3. Scouse for Chalobah, Edwards for Bree. Thoughts on that, Dave?
Excuse for Chalobah. Don't know. I don't really see that one. I didn't. But again,
is he possibly injured or ill or whatever?
Yeah, again, I think I saw Lambert came out and said he's perhaps got a tight thigh or something like that. So maybe it wasn't tactical. Maybe slightly tactical, more with a view on an injury as well. So we'll give him that one. Yeah, Bree for Edwards. I haven't got a problem with that. And I thought Edwards is really good. He looked really back to, like, remember him at the Blackburn game, first game of the season. He looked just like that, didn't he? Brilliant, this is what we've been missing. He just looked confident, which I think certainly, he hasn't looked like that at all. Hasn't been too, just not had the confidence to take the players on like he did in early season, the first few games. So that was, for me, the most encouraging thing probably of yesterday. I thought he was really good second half.
Joe, was Bree I've just timed that perfectly if you take a sip of your drink there. Was Bree sacrificed because of the formation rather than his performance, do you think there?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I'd imagine part of the choice between Pennington and Bree at right back was to do with Pennington's height from both set pieces and in general play, because a lot of our goal kicks were going out towards Pennington to try and win the ball and play from that side. So
and some of those crosses Bree was putting in were perfectly, because right in front of me, were perfectly good balls with pace as well, but we had no one in the box.
So we've all of our changes made at 45 minutes, and the first thing that happens in the second half is that Enciala goes down on a 50-50 challenge and stays down for a while, and that looks fun for a while, but fortunately he gets back up. And 10 minutes later he's in the action, picks the ball up in space and pings pretty much an instantaneous half-volley pass out to wide for Judge, who is in acres.
Does he mean that?
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I thought he did.
That was a hell of a
that was good.
Well, it was one of those things. What the hell was that? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
And Judge surges forward. He's got a lot of space down our left-hand side. Gets off a really powerful shot, which again the keeper palms out, and he tries to go for the rebound. There's a bit of a shove there. Shout for a penalty, but nothing doing. But Judge was great yesterday, wasn't he? Everywhere, second half particularly.
Yeah.
There's some chances that he misses, but.
Yeah. I guess it's really harsh to say he's no end product. It's really harsh to say that, but I still question his set plays still.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I know we scored from one against Stoke, but we've had a lot of set plays over the last 7 or 8 games, and there hasn't really been a great deal of quality on them.
Well, there's one coming up in the perfect moment, perfect position, which we'll talk about in a sec. Couple of minutes later, Nelson Oliveira's work is done. He goes off with what looks like a hamstring injury, but he's on the bench with an ice pack.
That's when Enciala got booked, didn't he? Because he'd done Enciala. It looked like he got to the line,
right?
And he as he sort of went to play it. Yeah, Enciala
so 50. I don't think Enciala got booked. I think it was a definitely.
He did get booked, and I didn't even think it was a foul.
I think it was a foul. That's why I didn't see the card. So
the ref didn't give it. The linesman didn't give it, and then the ref still hadn't given it. And then all of a sudden the linesman flagged when Oliveira was injured. Yeah. And not only that, he then booked him after neither of them could decide whether to give a free kick or not. He then deemed it worthy of a booking.
It's the first time this season I've seen a line up there, and I've seen a linesman give a free kick, wave his flag, and give a free kick for a foul. I think it's the first time I've seen it this season.
He stepped out of his lane there. Then he won't be on the line next weekend. I can tell you.
Did he?
So Oliveira's off, and Barrow comes on. He shifts out left, I think, and Mate is the striker up front. 59 minutes, 60 minutes, gents. Cole Scouse is good for maybe 2 or 3 of these a season. Chests it down, a dipping volley that's palmed over by Martinez. What if that had gone in, eh?
Great effort. No, yeah, good technique. Great effort. Yeah.
One of them will go in, maybe.
Yeah.
65, Teddy Bishop in a trademark jinking run, dash in between the three of their players. Goes looking for the penalty though. Referee's having none of it. 67.
He doesn't book him though, does he, for a dive?
He doesn't.
So.
No,
No, he doesn't. Actually, you're right. No.
But it was, it would look pretty blatant that that's what he was after. A couple of minutes later, there's a weird moment here. There's a looping deep cross from Pennington into the penalty area, and Yeadham can't get his body shorted. It kind of bounces in front of him, and he handballs it, kind of arms it towards goal. And Martinez has got to get across to try and get that clear, and Enciala, I think, is trying to run in there. Can't get on the end of it, but that was own goal / handball moment that nearly happened for us. 74, Teddy Bishop has a chance here. We'd said it earlier in the first half that he's not great in the air, but it's a judge free kick and Bishop flicks a header on, and that was close, gents. Did you see that from where you were?
Yeah, but it just looked like somebody was surely going to get a touch on it, as it seemed to.
Right. Yeah.
From the other end, obviously, had lack of depth perception, but it just looked like it went so slowly across the sort of danger area, but no one could get there.
So and that's an instance of a judge free kick hitting the target.
Yep.
And it's Enciala in that instance who's trying to get in on it, and as you say, Joe, I think there's a bit of handbags after that. 82 though, Ipswich's dominance or partial dominance in the second half is going to pay off. Who's going to take this one? I forget. Is it Dave again or Joe? Do you want to do this?
I think so. Joe's going to do the
Go
last
on,
one.
Go on, Dave. Sorry.
It's well, Kenlock sort of lands on the ball. I don't know, 30 yards out, sort of to the left of the penalty area. Feeds in Judge. Decent. I'll take it back. Actually, it's a decent cross. Actually, sort of clipped left foot cross. And I think is it Uidam? I think it's one of them. He sort of gets a glancing header on it. Doesn't get it very far. And it's really good from Pennington, because Pennington sort of comes flying in on the edge of the box and lunges at the ball, keeps it alive, really, he does really well there. And I'd like to think that Edwards gave Quainer a call, because if he did, it's really good by Quainer, because Quainer just flicks it behind him. And it's a really good finish, isn't it? I know he's at an angle 6 yards out, but it's easy just to take your eye off that and try and larrup it and just shank it and stuff. But good technique and really strong finish, actually.
Yeah, great finish.
Yeah, he deserved it. I thought he was really, really good when he came on.
Anything on that, Joe?
No, I just agree with what Dave says, really. It was a really good finish and something that Edwards... He scored a few goals this season. He scored some decent goals as well when he has scored them. So hopefully he can get back to the player we've seen from him, because
that's good.
He looked a shadow of himself at getting games at Accrington and around that time. But now he seems to be back in the swing of it, and hopefully
be a big player for us next year.
Yeah, indeed. I had Barry Davis's commentary in my head when he scored that goal, which was Edwards closing in, and it was and then it was meant to be. There you go. And he's in the thick of it 2 minutes later. This is pretty naughty. There's a late challenge by Edwards. I forget who it's on. It might be Swift or Baker. This was, I think the referee made an early call to get his yellow card out, but that was a bit naughty, wasn't it? Nolan also did one similar.
Nolan cut someone in half, didn't he? Christ, I don't know who it was in midfield there. Absolutely cut someone in half. Yeah.
But that one from Edwards was frustrating though, because he had the ball and a good chance to break, and he miscontrolled it. And when he miscontrolled it, he then just tried to get it back. And these challenges always look worse when you've lost the ball and you're desperate for it. And it was a bad challenge, but it sort of got forgotten that he had the ball and we had a chance to break again there when we were in the ascendancy. But
we are now in kind of squeaky bum time, and Quainer wins a free kick edge of the box. So this was the moment where I thought Alan Judge was going to score the goal that I thought he deserved yesterday. Perfect position. Maybe 22 yards out, I think.
Perfect.
Slightly side of goal, and can only find the over the bar.
Like Owen Farrell, wasn't it?
It was well over the bar.
Well, I was still rising as it went in the old Sir Bobby, didn't it? Unfortunately,
disappointing. I thought the script was written for that.
Absolutely, wasn't it? Yeah.
And instead, the script goes the total opposite way. Joe, you had the best view of this. It starts with Enciala, and everyone's slow in the Ipswich defence from this moment onwards, aren't they?
Yeah, and like Enciala does have time to clear the ball, and he has chances to get the ball. But I think the problem is with the situation we're in, we're now in must-win football. It's 1-1 in the 90th minute. So rather than just do what you should do, put your foot through it and clear it, he's trying to get the ball down and get it protected to try and launch another attack. I think that's what I'd say to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he ends up sort of getting caught the wrong side. The ball nicks away from him, but again, it's just a series of unlucky touches. The Reading player nicks it. It deflects off Fentiala. It then goes towards Chambers and then deflects off the other Reading. And every sort of touch, just any sort of deflection on the ball, ends up going exactly where Reading want it to go to. And then Chambers is basically in a position where he's just one-on-one, but the guy, he can't get near. He could potentially just chop him down. That's all he can do.
That's my take. I mean, Chambers could have just gone right through him because he wasn't in the box. He's like 20 yards. But look,
I think you've got a back Bart there, and it was a very good finish. Bart got out well and sort of made himself big, but it was a really good finish. But I think Chambers couldn't take a red card for it really, and that's realistically what it would have been.
I think you're right, Joe. Because let's face it, a point wasn't really any good, was it?
No.
We talked about Chambers' pace already today, and that was obviously highlighted there. NCR, does he need to be a bit? It's a really fair point, Joe, about him trying to possibly do something positive for that situation. But should he not just foul him? Should he not just bring that guy down, stop the pass?
He's a bit unlucky. He's a bit. I mean, Mite's big, and so is NCR. Look, Mite's no weakling, is he? He's big and strong, and he sort of almost out muscles him. Then NCR does pretty well because he still gets back goal side, and again he's unlucky that he doesn't intercept the pass forward because Mite's looking to pass that ball straight sort of between. I think Judge is back. Judge may have just taken a free kick. I think Judge is covering back there all the way back. One of those ones where he took a free kick from our half, I think. So yeah, it's just cluster. It's a cluster F.
And that was the moment, wasn't it, when we were? That was the final nail in the coffin when that goal went in. Because it wasn't just us losing. That was them winning, and they're our direct rivals. And with what was going on at Rotherham, that was just, I don't know. I know we've been down effectively for a long time, but that was the moment when
I think so.
It was confirmed, and you could see what it meant to their fans. You could see how the players and the fans celebrated. That was a huge goal.
Yeah. Well, Barrett gets a booking for that celebration, and then we've got 3 chances in injury time. Edwards has a shot, great save from Edwards, and then Chambers and Quainer both have pretty much point blank headers. Chambers is pretty much unmarked. If he's actually looking at the goal when he heads it rather than looking to the side, he can't miss. And then Quainer heads one wide. And that's it. And Reading, as you say, Joe, as you would, really happy at that situation. And Ipswich Town fans, I wasn't paying attention at the full-time whistle, but were there boos or was it everyone a bit meh where you were?
I think it was just frustration more than anything, and sort of there was just a funeral-like atmosphere at the end. It wasn't boos. It was just I don't know. Everyone knows we're down now when that went in, weren't they? Even the most optimistic fan, and I think that was just clear to everyone there, and it just was a total atmosphere killer.
Yep. And that must-win game that Lambert called it, we haven't called any. On the pod, we've deliberately tried to avoid, despite my best efforts, talking about winnable games and 6-pointers. But yet again, an opportunity for Ipswich to make things difficult for the teams around him. And again, Dave,
we haven't won any of those games, have we? Those crucial games that I mentioned earlier. Bristol City, Millwall yesterday, and there's been others. Sheffield Wednesday, maybe. We just haven't.
We've only won 3 games.
We've won 2 home games all season. Well, I saw a stat today. Was it something like 6 out of the last 45 or something like that? I mean, Jesus God, it's just.
I'd say we've won 3 games all season. 2 of them are at home against newly promoted sides who haven't won away from home all season.
And Reading had won 1 game away from home all season.
It was their second in 27, I think, yesterday.
Yeah. And we were talking about this on the previous show. It seems to me that all 4 of the teams down the bottom should get relegated because I don't think Reading were particularly good. I think they've got a couple of good players, haven't they? Mate and Olivier will get on our team straight away.
Swift
is decent,
but McCleary still. I mean, they were all bad. You look at those 4 and the goalkeeper. They're all right. I mean, I'd fancy them. Seeing them yesterday, you'd think they've got a bit more than Rotherham, but Rotherham are quite good.
But Millwall are right back in it.
Oh, Millwall are only right back.
They're only 1 point ahead.
Yeah, they're in it. Yeah. So again, you fancy Millwall to perhaps get enough results at home, though,
Home
wouldn't you, really?
form, yeah.
Depends if they've got to play, I don't know.
No, it's a fair shout.
Yeah.
Gents, we've got plenty of questions. Obviously, the mood pretty down, but people trying to make sense of it. I've just got to quickly lob this question in there. Firstly, because it references Joe's lovely 94-95 kit, but it's our mate Olimar, who I was sat next to yesterday. I had the pleasure of his company. He asked the question: is this our worst season ever? It's tight competition with 94-95 for me. In the former, we were completely uncompetitive. Hope was gone far earlier than this. Long scoreless records, etc. Yet Norwich going up and the endless series of crushing blows at key points. Gents, obviously you've been watching Town for a while now.
I mean, I think
it's the worst one for
as far as we're concerned. Don't ever forget 94-95. We're playing in the Premier League.
Yeah,
so,
and we beat Man United and Liverpool.
Yeah, and we beat them. And we did. I think me and Stat did this on the pod last week when your great sliding doors thing. We sort of said, that season shouldn't have been, because what was it? Mark Steen kept us up with the last kick of the game at Stamford Bridge, didn't he, to put Sheffield United down. So it's just a complete shitstorm this season, with the injuries and Norwich. Who could have, after we played 1st of September was it? We played Norwich. Who could have foreseen this? I certainly couldn't.
Yep.
They were no better than us that day. No, not really. We played quite well that day. They were no better than us, but they've just found a way and. I don't think there's any. Well, they're not. I think they're on such a roll. I honestly think they'll get up, and I think it is the first time ever that will be, which makes it even more depressing. 2 divisions apart.
So yeah, Joe, anything to add to that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think this season is worse. 94-95 was. I was obviously very young at the time, so I don't remember it that well. But we'd stayed up on the last day of the previous season. We hadn't added to the squad. We were probably the bookies' favourite to go down at the start of the season. And did Norwich come down as well with us that season as well, which sort of makes it a little bit better. We beat Man United, we beat Liverpool. This year we finished 12th last season. We've gone from 12th competitive in the league to bottom of the league by an absolute street. It's only because Bolton are so crap that we're not 13 points adrift of second bottom. We've won 3 games all season, 2 of which are 1-0 scrappy wins against newly promoted sides.
Yep.
Yeah,
and Norwich going up.
I mean, I think we were favourites, or one of the favourites to go down, weren't we, at the start of the season? But however, I think we have the last few seasons. I'm sure we've been forecast, even under Mick, to get relegated by the bookies. But yeah, this season is definitely worse by a long way. In hindsight,
it's just such a step back from last season, isn't it? When you look at, like I say, 93-94, you stay up on the last day with probably 40 points, and then 94-95 you're down. We were comfortable mid-table side last year, and we've gone from comfortable mid-table to the worst team in Championship history.
Just to bang on about it, it's all the goals we've lost. You can't replace those goals with, unfortunately, Ellis Harrison, Caden Jackson. You can't.
Yep. I can't disagree with any of that, gents. Let's think about next season. Apologies in advance for everyone. The questions are going to jump around a bit. There's obviously, I can't sort the Twitter out into a theme order, so I will jump around a bit. Ginger Eagle 73. I'll pitch this to Joe. With our recently improved feel-good factor and slightly better performances, how do you feel League One will go? How optimistic are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling relatively optimistic because I just don't see any reason why we shouldn't be in and around the top 6 for all of next season. I know it's a tough league. I'm not expecting to go down there and walk it, but realistically, with the budget we've got, with the budget we'll have compared to the rivals at that level, with the support base we've got, with the sort of prospects and the players that we've got under contract, who have all proven they're good players at that level, the sort of Edwards, John Nolan's, Toto Ntiala's, like we should win more games than we lose next year, which has.
That'd be nice.
And I think Lambert, he is in danger of becoming a bit of he's good at PR, but he's not much good at football management, because our record is terrible under him, and it should be better. So we do need to pick up 2 or 3 wins. I know it's a small thing, but if we could get above Bolton and finish second bottom, that would feel like a victory at the moment.
Yep. No, I agree with that. On that sort of theme of Lambert, there's a couple of questions here on that. First is for Mullet. So he says a pseudo 5-3-2, a double sub at half time, defenders lacking concentration, Edwards pulling a goal out of nowhere. This isn't what Lambert meant when he talked about the wheel turning, is it? Is there enough time, money, and will for him to fix this in the summer, Dave? Thoughts on Lambert?
You'd like to think so. You'd like to think, give him the summer, give him the transfer window, and you'd hope that at least if it doesn't go to plan, at least give him what did Hurst get, 15 games or whatever. I think the crucial thing is the pre-season and the transfer window.
Yep. Yeah. Then we got a question at the live show, which was how long do we give Lambert? I think I answered that when I said if we're still playing the same way and still not getting results in October, November, you'd
Oh no, absolutely. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I think Joe just hit on it this season aside, but next season, just if we can string a few wins together, I think people, no matter what division you're playing in, people just want to see us win again.
Yeah.
A few games and a string of games. Can we win 3 or 4 games on the spin? Maybe too much to ask, but God, it's been painful. And then yesterday, 23,000 there yesterday. Fantastic.
9, yeah.
I mean, someone asked me, I think last week, a question. He said, if we do get down and start winning, in League One, how will the crowd? What sort of crowds will we get? What do you think about that? What do you reckon about that, Joe?
I think if we're winning games and we're sauntering to promotion, you're gonna get over 20,000 people going there just because. I think so. I'd imagine our base attendance is going to drop down. And obviously, a lot of this depends on what they do on season ticket prices and things like that, which we don't know. But I can imagine there's going to be some games next year where you're talking like 12,500.
Tuesday night against.
If we're top of the league and we're scoring goals and we're playing good football, people are going to come and people will always come to watch winning football.
I think you're right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. We need to win a few games, and I think you're right, Joe. Too. If we can finish above, say, Bolton, that'll be a little victory in itself, won't it?
So, Joe,
it's important. Sorry, it's important for Lambert as well, just because there's people questioning him, and while I think it is early, when you look, he has won 2 games out of 20, and for all the talk of it, he couldn't really have done it any worse with results this season, could he? From when he's come in, I don't think there's any manager that would have been able to do worse than what he's done when you look at it purely on a points per game basis.
Yeah. There's a question here. Sorry for jumping in, but yeah, fair points. For Joe, how does Lambert now balance the requirement to commit in every match until the end of the season with the realisation that we're not getting out of this? This is from Super Friends. How much should we be playing the loanees, our own players, youngsters, etc., as we look to prepare for next season in League One? Firstly, just on the point of how does Lambert maintain the motivation, he's already said until it's mathematically certain, etc., etc., which you'd expect him to say, but heads will drop surely after this. And do you want to truck the youngsters in at this point or not, Joe?
Personally, the only one that I think we need to have a bit more of a look at is probably Andre Dazelle, because I know he is probably behind Downs in the pecking order. He's behind Bishop, but we know that he's a special player. And when are we going to get a chance to see him? We've got a chance to see if we can build a bit of a midfield around him and whether his quality is enough to pull us through. It may well not be. I'm not saying it will be, but I think if Dazelle doesn't play much between now and the end of the season, he'll probably leave in the summer, and it'll be a case of. I think we need to have a proper look at him in the first team, and I think Lambert needs to have a proper look at him.
Yeah, I'm still to be convinced, but perhaps just because we haven't seen enough of him.
Dave, any thoughts on how Lambert maintains the motivation into these games coming up? Tough one next week, obviously.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I mean, it's interesting what you said about the loanees, because he pulled, obviously, 2 loanees came off yesterday, obviously Chalabar and Bree at half time, so that was perhaps interesting, but then what else could he have done? I don't know. It's going to be difficult. It really is going to be difficult. I'd like to see perhaps in Blood an odd youngster or 2, but again, you can't play them all at once. What about Lancaster, Joe? What's his fitness? Is there any chance?
No idea. I saw him up at the training ground the other day in kit, but whether that means he's training again or just up there having treatment, I don't know.
Injury, a stress fracture of the back, they're going to hold him back, aren't they?
There's no need to rush it.
No,
and like I say, one player I didn't mention is Josh Emmanuel. Are we going to try and have a look at him?
Yeah, his questions about Josh.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's players there, that just disappeared, like Elder. Where's he? Was he in Dawkins? What?
Yeah.
Where are these players?
I don't think Dawkins was ever brought to play, really. I think he was just a bit of squad filler. But Elder, Lambert did say was injured.
Did he?
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Matthew Noble's got a question, an angle here which I don't think we've talked about yet so far. With Chamber and Scouse possibly playing less games next season, is one of our biggest issues the lack of leaders on the pitch? And who do you think could step up into the role? Under Burley, we probably had 5 or 6 who were captains. Dave, any thoughts on that one?
It's a great question. You think the only one, if he stays and he won't stay, would be experience-wise, would probably be Knudsen. But then is he going to step up and be captain with, all the perhaps supposedly bad feeling, ill feeling that perhaps some fans feel towards him? Probably not. But who else would it be? Well, he's not going to be fit. But Sears, of the current squad, Sears. Yeah. But obviously he's not going to be fit till Christmas at least. You're scratching around then.
Yep.
Maybe Alan Judge. If we keep him, which again is unlikely, he's the sort of player that gets in the ref's ear.
Oh no, absolutely, I agree with you. But are we really going to keep him? I don't know. Can't see it, but yeah,
that's
going to be
point.
A tricky one.
So is that where Lambert goes shopping in the summer then?
You'd think so. If and he's clearly. I mean, Skews isn't. Skews under McCarthy would have been straight back in after his injury, wouldn't he? No matter what, it's always first, second name on the sheet, and that's been all right. Came on at half time yesterday, but he hasn't started recently. And Chambers, for me, he looked shot yesterday, but again, might be doing him disservice. He might not be 100%, but yeah, I think you sure it showed up his frailties. I think yesterday.
One thing that is likely now, given Collins is out and we're lacking options for pretty much everyone on the pitch. Adam Flatt, Joe, does Toto Enciala terrify you guys as much as he does me? I think in a bad way or a good. I thought he was okay yesterday. Last goal aside.
I was quite critical of him at the start of the season because he just dives into challenges, and him diving in cost us goals and cost us penalties and cost him a red card, whether you thought it was deserved or not. He seemed to be punished for every mistake he made at the start of the season. I don't know. I quite like him. I think he's got a 3-year deal, so we've got to make use of him, and I think he'll be a decent player in League One.
Well, he was, wasn't he? Is he the modern day equivalent of Manu Tati, I think? Surely,
maybe you'll get an overhead kick next week at West Brom.
Yeah.
And throttle someone. Mark Dowling, a few people are asking a question around this. Dave, does anyone not think it's time to say thanks but goodbye to our loan signings and start immediately playing our own players, I think he means, and try experimenting with tactics? Any thoughts on getting the loan? So we mentioned Elder as a good example.
We've got enough of our own players at the moment, have we?
Yeah.
Probably not. So I think you're going to have to play the core of the loan signings. But look, you've lost Collins, you've lost Keane, so there's 2 already out of the way.
Yeah.
Elder is injured.
Injured.
I think Elder's the one that you've got to look at Kenlock above him, unless there's any realistic chance of signing Elder in the summer.
Yep.
Which I don't know. I don't know if there is or isn't.
Yeah, surely it felt like it was is he out of contract in somewhere? It kind of felt like a loan with a view to a permanent, didn't it?
I don't know.
I mean, surely I agree with you, Joe. You've got to have a look. Give Josh Emmanuel some game time at least. Just have a look at him, for God's sake.
Yep, agree on that. This question from Nath at NPT97. How much of an impact has not having the presence of Lambert on the touchline been for the Wigan and Reading games? Joe, any thoughts on that one?
Well, I mentioned earlier potentially about that substitution before half time and then changing it up at half time. Would it have been different if he was on the touchline? We'll obviously never know, but it hasn't helped us not having him there because he G's the players up.
He's so animated on the touchline, isn't he? I think he's been a miss. Probably yesterday more than I wasn't at Wigan, but yeah, yesterday especially.
Yep.
Yeah.
Couple of questions. Oh well, so Luke Moles, I'll ask this in the nicest possible way. It's similar to the NCR question, Dave. How shit is Colin Quainer? Or are you playing to the wrong, not playing to his strengths?
Playing on his own through the middle, very shit, I'd say. But playing wide, running the channels, looks a completely different player to me. That's just obvious to me. Is his natural position. He looks a real threat.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing on his own down the middle ain't his game.
No.
He doesn't punch his weight in the air, does he? For Christ's sake, someone said he jumps a bit like that, doesn't he?
I've got a follow-up question for you.
He doesn't have the effort either to get there when he's sort of closing down defenders. He just sort of gives up for 3 yards before he gets there, doesn't he? As well.
Indifference to him, I just think that's his sort of languid type. Who can I compare that to? A bit Jason Dezelle languid type. Lopey style, I think, but certainly wide. I think he can be a threat.
Just a supplementary question, Dave. Simon at Portman Ginge. What was more likely, us staying up or Quana jumping high and winning a header?
Honestly, I think it's us staying up.
Joe, Beanie asks, what are the first steps on the road to recovery? What things should we be looking out for in terms of building for next season?
Well, it's just working out where the squad is going to be, and Evans trying to get his business done early between Evans and Lambert to make sure that when we go to Germany for our friendly against Bayern Munich in front of 80,000, that we do have all the players that we need for our pre-season tour. Like this year, Paul Hurst made such a big play about how important fitness was. He took them on this mega training camp, and out of the 25 players that went there, by the time we played at the end of the transfer window, probably 4 or 5 of them were in the 18. We need to make sure we get our business done early, get the players in who we want to play, get that 22, 24-man first team squad, whether that includes young players, loanees, signings, current players. I don't really care, but he needs to get that squad together for pre-season, and we've got to get it sorted and go from there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think the positive thing, at least he's getting these young kids on contracts, which is good.
Yeah.
Chris Hodges, what must Jackson do to get in the team ahead of Quana? Is it just everyone else gets injured, Dave? And then he gets a chance?
I think they're not ahead of Quana. Like I said, I'd like to see him play with Quana in a 2. You know, not ahead of Quana, and especially now Keener's out. Do it at West Brom. I probably won't, but yeah, I'd love to see him play in a 2 because I really think he could do well like that. Shame Harrison's injured, actually.
He might be back though.
He's been a big miss, Harrison, this year.
I like him.
When Lambert first came in,
yeah,
and we were having to play Roberts ahead of him, that was a good run where if Harrison was fit, he could have done well there. At the moment, he'd have probably started yesterday, and which would have freed Quana up to do his sort of roles on the flanks. And
someone's getting in the crosses as well, Joe.
Yeah, I think he's got a bit about him, Harrison. And wouldn't you like to think, like, you know, League One next season, first game, you start with them as a front 2? I mean, I think that could be really good.
There's a lot of people. Dommy Boy 79 asks exactly the same about Jackson being overlooked. Chris Hodges has a supplementary bit. He said, "I bet Dave Diamond thought Kenlock was good in the first half."
Yeah. Well, he wasn't. Most of the problems wasn't coming from down his side. So yeah, I thought he did well first half.
Another question from Simon at Portman Ginge, which I think is relevant. We talked about it before. Joe, thoughts on Nolan? Seems to be growing in confidence. Simon adds, never seems to chase the second ball, but Nolan growing into the season, do you think?
Yeah, no, I think the last 5 or 6 games since we've gone with this, got responsibility to get out wide and get work inside. He's done well. He's getting forward. He gets into the box. He's getting the ball out of his feet quicker. He's passing more positively. He's got a bit of bite in the challenge. So I think it's taken him a while to grow into this league, and by the time he's grown into it, he's going to be back where he was in League One. But like I said with Toto, he's another one with a 3-year deal, and we've got to make use of him. And I think we will make use of him next year. He's a good player.
Yep.
Yeah, I like him.
Dave, yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like him. I think he could be really good for us. Yeah, he's certainly growing into getting up to the pace of Championship football, and but by the time he really starts to shine, he'll be back in League One though, unfortunately. But yeah, good player.
And there's goals in him as well. You know, the Birmingham goal away and the Derby goal.
Derby goal. Yeah, and yesterday he should have scored. But look, it's great to see him getting that advanced in the box. You know. Yep.
We'll do a few quick ones. Alex Mills, our mate in Australia. Do you think we've seen a resurgence in Edwards, who could be a huge threat in third tier? I think you've mentioned that already, Dave.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, that was too quick for me. I'm not ready. Let me think. What have we got? A lot of people suggesting sending the loan players back. Here we go. Nathan Bills. This is a controversial question, Joe, for you. Do you feel our current youngsters are overrated by elements of the fan base? Players like Kenlock, Downs, Dazelle, and even Bishop are struggling for form and assists/goals. Are we optimistic by thinking that we can build a promotion-winning side around them next season?
Well, I don't think we should be building a team around them. I think it's a case of them filling in and being part of the team as opposed to it. But like I said, we all know Teddy Bishop is a brilliant player if he's on form. He can play at this level as a good player. Kenlock, for me, still, that was his 50th game for us on Saturday, and I still don't think he's done enough. I still find him too weak in the challenge. He gets muscled off the ball too easily and runs down blind alleys. But he's a decent squad player, and I hope he stays and becomes a backup. But players like Flynn Downs, they're still very young, and these players aren't going to come in and be the absolute difference makers unless someone like a Dazelle pans out as we hope he does in our wildest dreams. But realistically, they're not going to come in and into a poor team and be standout players. It's very different when you look at the two guys at Norwich, where they're sort of they just fly up and down the flanks because they're in a confident team that plays that way. Where someone like Reece James at Wigan, who's the same age as them, you can tell he's just a brilliant player because he looks the best player on the pitch, whatever position he's in, and he's one that's just going to go straight through to the top. But he's on a different level to most players. But is there much difference between Trevor Chalobah and Flynn Downs when they play for us? Chalobah does look better, but I wouldn't say we'd be much worse off if you played Downs for all the games that Chalobah's played.
No, Chalobah just gives you a bit more physical presence, I think. But I think you're right. I don't think there's a lot between them, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tony Page, Dave, is it time to say thank you and goodbye to Chamber and Scouse?
Well, yeah, I mean...
Maybe as starters, I guess.
Yes, I mean, Chambers yesterday was exposed, but I think on reflection, Joe made a good point. Perhaps it was the formation and he was just dragged out of his position, out of his comfort zone. I think someone once made an analogy. I think I heard Tony Adams, on a totally different level, talking about that same situation when he was playing, saying he would never find himself in that position because he just wouldn't, because he'd get done every time. But just saying central, he could read the game and just dominate everything. So it was maybe a bit harsh on Chambers, but what it did show was his lack of pace.
Yeah.
But McCleary and Barrow are very quick. But it was on more than one occasion. Skews. Yeah, I see Skews being, particularly if you're hopefully looking to bring through Dazelle and Downs and people like that. Skews is great to have around the squad, isn't he?
He made a difference second half, do you think, yesterday? Busy.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell because the whole game changed. Was he the catalyst for the game change, or was it the change of formation?
Yeah.
So it's hard
difficult. And I'd say Edwards obviously had a lot more influence on the game second half than Skews did, but difficult one.
One more each. Joe, a lot of people have been wondering this one, myself included actually, from Nick P982. How does Joe think this being, I assume, inevitable relegation affect the academy? Will we downgrade? I guess budgets and all that stuff.
We won't downgrade from Category 2 if we're down there for a year or two. I think we're being audited at the start of next season, which gives you a license for I think it's 3 years you get the license once you're being audited. So realistically, we'll be staying as a Category 2 academy. But if we stay in League One for a longer period, then we will at some point downgrade. But hopefully that doesn't become the case. And
I mean, Joe,
maybe our spending will drop. I don't know.
But the teams in League One, and I don't mean teams like Sunderland and teams like that, but the I call them run of the mill, doing them a disservice, run of the mill teams in League One. I mean, what category would they be?
3. They're generally Category 3 and 4, but you've got Colchester who are Category 2, Coventry who are Category 2, Crewe, are they in League 1 or League 2? I don't know, but they're Category 2. And then obviously Sunderland are Category 1 still.
So what in effect would happen, just quickly, if you know? So say you're down, heaven forbid, 2 or 3 seasons, and you get downgraded to Category 3. What's the difference?
I think you lose a lot of the. I think you can lose the underage teams effectively, so you don't have the lower. A lot of the teams below under 16, you can lose them, whether you elect to or not. I don't know, and I don't think you have an under 23s league at that level either. It's just an under 18s league, or if there is an under 23s league, not every team is in it. So it's. But
is there,
like I say,
Joe, is there something about the educational side of it as well? There's the support they provide the players. Does those obligations diminish as you go down the categories as well? Which means as a proposition for a family trying come into Ipswich Academy, we'd look less attractive than say Norwich or Colchester even.
Yeah, it depends because what you have to do lowers in quality effectively. So you can go down to Category 3 and still offer more services, but realistically, if you are having to go down to Category 3, it's because you're cutting money, so you're going to be losing a lot. And I think you're a lot less protected for effectively clubs poaching your players.
I mean, how far down the road did we get with Category 1? A long way.
Well,
it's a few percentage.
What happened was when you in the very first audit, you basically decided what you wanted to be because they didn't have time to audit everyone, and we went for Category 2, where we could have said we're a Category 1 academy. Crystal Palace went for a Category 1 academy, even though one of the key requirements is you have to have your first team and your under-18s on the same site, which they didn't have. So they knew they were going to fail it, but they had an extra year at Category 1. And in hindsight, well, even in foresight, I thought it was a bad decision. But in hindsight, it seems that teams, once they were Category 1, it's much harder for them to be stripped and knocked down than it is for a Category 2 team to go up to Category 1. Right. And the audit showed, what was it, like 0.3% off we were.
Close, isn't it?
I think I did see that. I remember now. Yeah.
Player tracking app. Had we paid for an extra bit of software rather than doing it on spreadsheets ourselves, we'd have had enough to get there. And there was also one about not having enough players playing for the first team in previous years, which had gone against us, or playing in league football, potentially not just for the first team. But so I think the initial mistake was going to it originally because it meant we were on the outside looking in and we weren't able to do it. But Lee O'Neill did say in the interview with the Kings of Anglia guys last week that he's now working with the Premier League on the auditing. So he didn't mention any plans about downgrading, mention when our next one was. Realistically, we're not going to go Category 1 until we get into the Premier League because the goalposts have been moved further and further, but we'll stay at 2. And
Norwich? Norwich
they're
one.
1, yeah.
Norwich are 1, yeah.
They're spending a lot of money behind the scenes as well. Andy Grimes, Dave, why can't we win big games? Cup games, local derbies, and must-win league games have all gone to shit in the last 17 years.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, we always say that. When the hell was the last game we actually, perceived to be a big game that we actually turned up for Christ's sake? Or the letdowns. I mean, I'd be struggling. He's right, and I don't know whether it's obviously this season it's just the whole losing, non-winning mentality. Certainly, what was it, 6 games out of 46, whatever it is. That doesn't help. But the times over the years we're turned up. Oh, here we go today. We go. I think the last big game I'd associate it with was probably the Newcastle home game, which didn't really mean anything to us, but.
A few must-win games when Mick kept us up as well, particularly towards the end of the season. Derby away.
Burton away.
Oh, that season, I was at that game.
But I mean, they're not in the grand scheme of things,
It did make me feel better watching the Merseyside derby earlier, where there was a stat that Everton haven't beaten Liverpool for 19 games now, so it made us feel better about our record with Norwich. That it's not just us that can't beat their rivals.
And Liverpool are potentially bottling it once again as well, which is always interesting. So we'll end on a positive, fun question from our colleague Mikey Penty-Smith. What would you find harder, being vegan for a month or vegetarian for a year? Joe?
Vegetarian for a year.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we'll all agree with that one. There you go. Thanks, Mikey. Look, I hope I gave the questions as long as I could there. There's loads that I haven't had time to look through. A lot of the usual guys who contribute. So thank you for that. And sorry that we didn't have time to read them out. We'd be here all night otherwise, and we've got to get this out at some point. So thank you for that. Joe, before we move away from ITFC, do you want to talk to us about the Kevin Beattie tribute night at Clacton last week? You were there, weren't you?
Yeah, I went down to that on Tuesday, and it was a night it was organised by Malcolm Thompson, who I think used to run the Haverhill supporters branch or an independent club, but he's organising it. He was a friend of Kevin Beattie's, and it was hosted by Stuart Jarrell from Anglian News with Brian Talbot, Eric Gates and Paul Mariner. And I think Gates had come in effectively just down from the northeast just for this, and Mariner had come across from the US effectively just for this event.
Wow.
He went to one other event down in Plymouth, but was straight back. I think he was a bit gutted he wasn't able to get across for the funeral because of work commitment. So this was his coming across purely to support Beattie on this, and it was a really good sort of night with the guys there. They were brutally honest with their assessments, and like Mariner was sort of very emotional when he was talking about how he believed that Beattie's problems were mainly caused by a physio who was trying to make a name for himself by getting big Kevin Beattie back fit, and he was back 3 weeks after a knee operation, and Mick Mills had 6 weeks, but this guy who, like I say, I'm only repeating what Mariner said here, none of this is my opinion, but who sort of self-proclaimed nickname of the King, was trying to get Beattie back fit, and it just killed him from then on. He never ever got fit after that point, really, and they sort of just talked about his ability and how he was just such a natural footballer. And I think Gates mentioned that he felt that being such a natural footballer and it coming so easy to him meant that later in his career he could never get it back because he'd never had to work too hard at his fitness because he was just. They said he came down. He was just so naturally strong. Gates said he was 6 months older than him, and they came down from the northeast, and he said he was a man and he was a boy, and the way they talk about Beattie, both as a sort of humble guy and a good mate of theirs, and also just his ability. They all were sort of waxing lyrical about how he was just the best player that they ever played with, how he could do anything effectively. And it's interesting as somebody who didn't get to watch Beattie play like Dave has, and when these guys talk about him, and these are internationals that have played for Arsenal, England, and they just talk about him, and as in he is just unbelievable. He could do anything, and that him being injured or whatever happened to him in 1975 cost them the league title, and like I say, how different would Ipswich's history have been had Kevin Beattie had been able to stay fit?
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. This is all fundraising for the statue appeal, isn't it, as well? Yeah.
Well, this was for Beattie's family actually, and
okay.
And there was a big auction. There was a brilliant prize in the auction. They must have raised $4 or $5 grand, and all that money for Beattie's family. They did have a bucket going round with a collection for the statue, and the sculptor was there and got up and said his piece about the statue, and he's agreed on a design now. It's a Beattie going up for a header, and they didn't want poles holding him up, sort of sticks. So they've managed to. He was telling me, but they've managed to effectively have it sort of stepped out, so it looks like he's floating up there for a header as opposed to being propped up by sticks. So I've seen the photo, and hopefully it'll look really good.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for that, Joe.
And it's going to be on the corner by the club shop is where the statue is going to be. It was originally going to be the other side of the road, but there's an issue with the car park being redone there, so it's going to be by the club shop on that side of the ground.
Great exclusive news. Thank you for that, Joe. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Let's go through the roundup very nice and quickly. Friday night, Leeds 4, West Brom 0. Hernandez with a thronker after 16 seconds, Dave.
What a goal that was. What a goal. It was the same as, I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen that only once when Sears scored at Fulham the other year in like 15 seconds where the opposition have the kick-off as well. Obviously concede possession, but what a strike that was.
That's goal that is. And Bamford doing his best to kind of add himself to the pantheon of good strikers for the Championship, but not good enough for the Premier League with a double as well.
Leeds were brilliant. They blew West Brom away, and I think questions have got to be asked for West Brom when you see the quality of players they've got, and to be beaten as comfortably as they were. Gareth Barry and Jake Livermore looked like two old age pensioners in midfield. They just were
more, is he? What do they do? Do they act now? I mean, they're still there, aren't they? Only still well in the playoffs, West Brom, but yeah, another couple of defeats like that, and do they act now and get someone in? But
well, we debated it on the fabled Blue Monday WhatsApp group, and Darren Moore, tough fixture for him next weekend against 24th placed Ipswich Town. Norwich temporarily.
There's always that, isn't there? Yeah.
Well, if they lose to us, I think that might expedite the exit, mightn't it?
Well, my one concern is that we haven't really. I was saying to my boy yesterday, we haven't really had a pasting yet, and then he said, "I've got West Brom away next week." Now they just lost 4-0 at Leeds for you. Okay,
but they haven't got very good home form, West Brom. If you look at it, because they're quick on the counter, and so they've won more games away from home than they have at home. So we might only lose 2-0.
Thanks, Joe. Positivity. So Leeds went top temporarily, and Norwich back at it on Saturday as expected, although Millwall equalised. But Pookie at it again. Norwich 3-1 winners there. Millwall, are they in trouble, guys?
Well, they are, aren't they? Only a point. Pookie, can I just depress us even more? I realised today, I read something today, he's now got 28 goals this season, which is one more than we have. Although 24 league goals, which is only 3 less than we have. Oh. Anyway.
But yeah, Millwall keeps on giving, eh?
Millwall certainly in trouble, but I think you'd think they'd still have enough at home.
Yeah. Wigan 0, Borough 0. That's Wigan probably safe. Borough boring, churning away. They'll be playoffs, won't they?
Yeah.
Probably not good enough to get in the top.
To it.
Preston 1, Bristol City 1. Preston probably drawing too many to get in the playoffs. Bristol City, they're on a bit of a slump again. They're so spiky, aren't they, under Johnson?
They really are, aren't they? Yeah.
Streaky Lee.
Streaky Lee.
Freaky Lee.
How did Harry describe it in our group chat? snakes and ladders.
Snakes and
Bristol City season.
yeah, his mate Vince. Yeah, exactly right. I know you want to talk about this one, Dave. So let me set you up. Aston Villa 4. Sorry, Jack Grealish's Aston Villa 4. Frank Lampard's Derby 0. Frank Lampard 4 defeats in a row for Derby. What about Grealish's goal, guys?
Just the technique of this goal is something else. I think it was like someone said it's 13 years ago to the day that Scholes scored that volley at Villa Park for Man U. But what a strike. And what I like about the strike, it's a brilliant ball from Whelan, because Whelan picks him, doesn't he? And he drills the cross. So, takes the penalty area out of play, drills it across the angle of penalty area from the corner. And what I like about is this pure technique, because he doesn't hammer it, he just puts his foot through it, doesn't he? What a goal that is.
The camera's right behind it as well, isn't it?
And it goes in with a bit of swerve as well, doesn't it? It's a great, great goal. 2 best goals this season is that one I've seen, and the one by McGinn for Villa against, I can't remember who, but you go a long way to see a better goal than that. What a strike.
Does Grealish stay at Villa if they stay down, Joe?
I think he will, because he's had a bit of a stop-start season, and he's just too expensive. I think he's a really good player, and I think Tottenham should push the boat out to get him in.
I think I agree.
This summer, because he'd have added something to their squad, their small squad, and if he was 40 million, well, you don't get a lot for 40 million these days, and he's a quality player.
Interesting, he was made captain. Bruce has made him. Smith's made him captain.
Oh, there you go. Well, I wonder whether he's super motivated for Villa. Whether that if he goes somewhere else, he'd still be as good. But certainly a talented player nonetheless. Swansea 2, Bolton 0. The only positive, at least, is Bolton continue to be as crap as we are. 2 red cards: a red for Noon, a red for Wheater, and then McBurney Salim in the last 10 minutes.
Staff not paid again in February. Playing staff and non-playing.
This takeover's gone quiet as well. I thought that was done and dusted, but it's not happened either.
They're a basket case, aren't they? They really are.
And Swansea probably too far off it as well, but probably building for next season on the
nice goal from Selena at the end. Nice finish.
Yep. Stoke 2, Forest 0. Jones starting to suss things out at Stoke, do you think, or Forest
first win, isn't it, that one?
Second win. I think they beat Leeds, didn't they?
Okay, well, first win for a number of games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jones has got a lot of work to do there. It's a squad that I think has got some dodgy characters in it from what you hear coming out last year. Even Stoke fans, even though Lambert took them down, they said he just had an impossible dressing room to manage there, and you can't clear a dressing room like that out in one season. It's going to take time, and I think Jones is the right guy to come in and shake it up, because he's shown he's not scared to make big decisions.
A nice goal from Matebo, who's probably the best player for Stoke when they played a few weeks back.
Good the other one,
in the battle of the surprise top half teams, Hull 2, Birmingham City 0. Jarrett Byrne at it again, Dave.
God, man, he's going to... He's a shoe-in for the... I think so. He's probably a shoe-in for the Championship Team of the Year as well. What a season he's had.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Hull have a great run. I think they're now level on points with Birmingham, just 4 points... 4 points off it. So when you think, where they've come from, brilliant.
Yep. Still waiting to hear on this points deduction possible for Birmingham as well, but that's gone quiet. Rotherham keeping Reading honest down the bottom. Rotherham 3, Blackburn 2. Blackburn kind of appear to have packed up for the summer. It's like us a few seasons ago, isn't it? 3-2 there.
Yeah, there's a bad feeling. They don't like Mowbray, do they? I think they are a bit, yeah. There's some.
Well, Dak's gone a little bit off the ball as well, hasn't he? I know he's involved in the last goal, but yeah. At least Rotherham, Reading. Do you think Reading have probably got the better team and the more likely team to finish?
I think so. You would think so. Yeah, big win for Reading yesterday. Yeah, really.
Rotherham a decent side at home though, and it may not be pretty how they play, but they know how they play. And it wouldn't surprise me if Rotherham stay up, and there'll be a team that will just go down next season, similar to when Burton stayed up for a year. Yeah. They'll stay up for 1 year, but I don't really see them building on it. But I don't know, I wouldn't surprise if they beat Reading.
Bit of a yo-yo team, Rotherham, I guess.
Do we think it will go to the last day? That last relegation spot? Yeah. Will we get 23rd? Come on.
Can you imagine if it went... It's a shame it hasn't gone to the last day. I mean, we'd all be... Imagine going to that last day and we'd need points to stay up.
Well, but against Leeds.
And Leeds need...
No.
Leeds needs points. So it's between Norwich. I don't know. Say Sheffield United have a brilliant run. It's between Leeds and Norwich for that last promotion spot. Oh my god, that'd be a conundrum, wouldn't it?
Well, talking Sheffield United, they play Monday night against Sheffield Wednesday. Still City derby on Monday night.
I think
That'd be
Ben
fun.
might be going.
I think he's going to be there. Yeah, another local derby that can be played on a non-Sunday, non-lunchtime kickoff.
Talking about that and local derbies and policing, there was back in the old days yesterday. There was a few.
Was there a
things
bit of
going
a
on
thing on the corner of the club shop? Reading.
Yeah, when I got there,
youth
police
came
everywhere. What the hell's going on? And apparently,
blue action conversion on them, didn't they, or something?
Mannings as well. They took over Mannings apparently.
Oh,
you know things have gone bad when a total plastic tin pot team like Reading come up and take a pub, don't you?
Big
they got in there early.
It's their cup
final. Police, I mean, the police didn't throw them out. What the police did in Mannings, they just stopped Ipswich fans going in. Go figure. Well, I can understand that, but how'd you let the Reading? It's a home pub. How'd you let the Reading fans in anyway? But there you go.
Of all the clubs you'd expect that from, eh?
There you go.
Finishing it off, Brentford 3, QPR 0. QPR have packed up, certainly for the summer. They're in a bit of a slump. Brentford, though, Morpay and Ben Rama, they're on form at the moment.
Rampaging, aren't they?
Rampage. Yeah. And Franks has turned it around as well.
Brentford always have a good run, don't they, about this time of year? It's the same every year. They start okay. They sell some players in the August transfer window. They have a bit of a slump. Come to about January, they start playing well and they make a late run and don't make the playoffs. It's sort of.
I think it's a weird run under that Frank. I think they got 4 points from the first 10 games.
He was under pressure, wasn't he? Yeah.
And they've got like 24 out of the last 11 or something like that. Been a great run. Score goals for fun, don't they? I mean, always have done.
Well, this is the point where Ben would usually do the extrapolate. I am not going to bother the extrapolate. I don't need to tell you anything about that. What I will say is Ipswich Town need 2 points to match the lowest points tally in the Championship, which was achieved by Rotherham in the 2015-16 season, I believe. So
when they did the double over us.
When they did the double over us, great shout. So we beat West Brom next week. That record is sorted. No issues about that. Let's move on to the CV game. I'm going to mix it up this week. No Two Little Ducks. I'm sure you guys are delighted about that. But I'm going to shift it around from players to managers. So I have for you, as a tester to see whether the format works, an Ipswich manager, an ex-Ipswich manager first, and then I have an ex-Ipswich player who became a manager. And I'll list you the teams, shout bingo or whatever you want to shout, and we'll see how you can get there first. So this is the tester. This is the ex-Ipswich manager. I'll start you off with Scunthorpe United. And then I'll take you to Hartlepool.
Yeah.
And then I'll take you to Chesterfield.
Yeah.
Have you got it yet?
Yeah, John
Duncan.
There you go. Brilliant. Easy. This could be really quick. I've only got 2 of these. That was the first. So, next up. Shout in when you get this. So this is the proper one. So this is a football manager who played for Ipswich. Didn't manage Ipswich, though. I'll start you off with Coventry City. My second club.
Stop.
Yep.
Oh, Terry Butcher.
Joe, no. He's only gone and ruined it. All this preparation. I've got to thank Ben Dawkins, whose idea it was. He also suggested Terry Butcher. That is it.
Okay.
That is the game ruined. Thanks, Joe.
All right, go back to the CV game. Then.
So CV game ruined it. We'll mix the format up. I think. Well, Joe had kind of an auction thing, didn't he?
I thought you had 3
absolutely.
to do.
I've got one job to do as host, and I've
just look up someone quickly on Wikipedia.
Yeah. No. Do you want me to go through the rest of his teams? Because there's quite a few of them. I thought it was a good one.
Loads, man.
Coventry, Sunderland, Motherwell, Sydney FC, Partick Thistle, Brentford, Inverness, Caledonian Thistle, Hibs, Newport, the Philippines briefly. Yeah. And that was it. So yeah, there you go. Well, if you got Coventry,
he was on that cycling thing I went to 4 years. Oh God, it's 4 years ago in Amsterdam when he'd just taken over at Newport. And I said to him, yeah, what do you think? So he said, yeah, I've got a good squad. Should go well next season down in Wales. And I think, Christ knows how long he lasted. Not long, I don't think.
No, I think the Philippines. I think he left before managing a match. I think so.
He even beat to the Philippines.
Yeah,
I don't think he even got out there.
Well, there you go. So I've ruined that. Apologies to everyone listening. Oh, Joe ruined it. Joe ruined it.
Joe.
That was pretty impressive, though. So if you got Coventry as well as Joe did on the first one, then fantastic. And if you got John Duncan as well off Scunthorpe, then good luck to you as well. Well, there you go. You got a scot-free. Next time I'm hosting, it's Two Little Ducks, and I'm going to pick a right shitter for you. So I'll get my revenge then. That's it, gents. That is all I've got on the agenda. That damp squib of a CV game is how we'll finish. Should we do some plugs? Dave, is there any this week in ITFC history in the works?
I'm not sure, mate. I haven't spoke to Stacks. I was away on my travels last week, so I haven't spoke to Stacks. So could be, but unlikely. Probably going to be week after next.
Okay, and we can find you on Twitter.
At David Diamond 3.
At David Diamond 3. Joe, tell us where your Twitter is and your Academy Twitter as well.
At Joe Fairs and at ITFC_Academy. I was at the under-18s game yesterday. They beat the league leaders Cardiff 2-1. A very young team, two under-16s playing central midfield for us. So it was a good result. A lot of next year's intake are starting to play.
Great is there a showpiece game this year, Joe? You like
United or something like that? Yeah.
I haven't seen anything about it. I know that they've started playing Norwich in what is the Hospital Cup. And that was at Norwich last season. That should be at Ipswich this season as an under-16s game. But I don't know if there's any Spurs or Man United game. I doubt there will be.
Yeah. And when's your next Football Manager database update?
The winter update was released a couple of days ago, actually. So you can see the winter update.
Oh, no, so the next one will be the summer?
Yeah, the last one for 2019. So updated with all the transfers for January and the updates of how I've rated our players. Sort of spoiler alert, not very highly. And we'll sort of see from there, and then I'll be a League One Football Manager researcher for Football Manager 2020.
Living the dream. What's Chambers' acceleration, just out of interest? Do you remember?
I can't remember. I would like to say.
Go and have a look at your winter update of Football Manager, those of you who are involved in that. Good stuff. Thank you, Joe. And the ITFC Academy account, really good one to follow. Joe's at most of the games, particularly the home ones, and good for live commentary and good to keep an eye on the players that are coming through as well. In terms of the channel, you can find us on Twitter at Blue Monday ITFC. Plenty of decent content, including Ben's Championship reviews on the YouTube channel as well. Harry and I will be back on our usual Thursday/Friday slot to chat about West Brom away, which will not be straightforward. And you can find me at Ipswich. Gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me your Sunday evening and picking the bones out of yesterday. I'm going to say something positive about West Brom, but I can't think of anything. So at least we can stop false hope and we can plan for next season.
I think let's keep it to 2. I think it's pretty good.
Let's keep it to 2. Say goodbye, guys.
Cheers, guys. See you.
See you later.